Your power bill went up this year, not because you used more, not because a storm took out a plant, but because a building with no windows moved in down the road, and it got in line ahead of you. I'm Michael Starr Hopkins, former Democratic strategist and public defender. This is Burn the Playbook here on Abe. And before we get into it, please like and subscribe to Abe so that you don't miss a video. Now, here's the number that should end the argument. $6.3 billion. That's how much one of the electricity auctions went to data centers. Not to your house, not to the hospital, to a building with no windows that eats more power than your whole town. And the man who put that number on paper, he's not an activist. He's the referee. And when the ref starts yelling, you don't check the ref, you check the score. The company that runs the grid is required to pay somebody to watch its own market, because a market that nobody watches is just a room where the seller tells you what things cost. That watchdog has a name, Joseph Bowering. He's the independent market monitor. He works the numbers the people who run the grid would rather you never opened. Now let me explain the auction, because the name of it was built to make you stop listening. They call it the reliability pricing model. Somebody got paid to come up with that, and he earned it. The biggest grid operator in the country holds a sale once a year. Power plants bid to promise they will have the electricity ready for the worst day of the summer, when everybody in 13 states turns the air on at the same hour. Read that again. They're not selling electricity. They're selling a promise to have it if you need it. You and I don't get to live like that. Try telling your landlord you'll have the rent if he ever really needs it. And whatever price that sale lands on, every household on that grid pays, whether you use a watt of it or not. It arrives on your bill as a line you have never read. Nobody votes on that line. No town hall, no comment period. It's just a sale you were never invited to. And then it's on your bill. And in January, it's on your bill. And in July, it's on your bill. And next year, too. Electricity has to come from somewhere. Somebody has to build it. None of that's a scandal. That's just how the grid works. But here's what that promise has to cost. Try telling your landlord you'll have the rent if he ever really needs it. And whatever price that sale lands on, every household on that grid pays, whether you use a watt of it or not. It arrives on your bill as a line you've never read. Nobody votes on that line. No town hall, no comment period. It's set in a sale you were never invited to. And then it's on your bill in January. And it's on your bill in July, and it'll be there next year too. Electricity has to come from somewhere. Somebody has to build it. None of that's a scandal. That's just how the grid works. Here's what that promise has cost. For the year that started in the summer of 2024, the sale landed at $28.92. The next one landed at $269.92. More than 800% in 1 year. Name one other bill in your life that did that and stayed legal. Sit with that for a second. The promise to keep the lights on got roughly 9 times more expensive in 12 months, and nobody on your street asked for it. Nobody on your street voted for it. The one after that landed at $329.17. And that last number is not what the market wanted. That's the ceiling. The sale hit the cap in every single zone. Left alone, it would have cleared at $388.57. The price went up to the roof. Then it pushed on the roof. The servers have to run somewhere. Somebody has to power it. So who's doing the pushing? Bowering runs the arithmetic and publishes it. Nobody asked him to. It's just the job. Of the charges in the most recent sale, $6.3 billion traces to data centers. 38% of $16.4 billion. Go back 4 sales and it gets worse. $29.4 billion out of $63.6 billion. 46%. That's not a rounding error, not a slice, but nearly half. Nearly half of everything everyone on that grid was charged to keep the lights on is there because of server farms. And you're sitting there probably thinking, this is just supply and demand. And you're right, it is. That demand has a name though, and it's not yours. Here's how the referee describes the people who run the grid. PJM, he says, is continuing to act like it's business as usual. That's the man they hired to keep the score. Not a protester, not a rival. And understand what he's not saying. He's not saying anybody cheated. He's not saying a rule got broken. He's saying the rules were written for a grid where nobody ever showed up asking for the electricity of a small city all at once. Somebody showed up. And the rules have not moved. Now you're going to tell me the data centers pay their own way. They do pay something. Nobody said that they pay nothing. And anybody who did, they're being disingenuous. So the referee counted what they pay. Then he counted what you pay. That's the whole report. So what does this cost your house? Bills for some customers on that grid are set to rise between 1.5% and 5% across the 12 months that started this past June. On a $200 summer bill, that's $10 a month. $10 is nothing if you have it. If you're on a fixed income in July with the window unit running, $10 is the difference between running it and sitting in the dark with the shades pulled in the middle of the afternoon. Now, let's be honest, nobody calls that an emergency. It just happens in a room where nobody's looking. Now, here's the part that turns bad luck into a decision somebody made. This is fixable, and the fix has a name. Bowering's own recommendation is to run a separate sale. Put the giants in their own market and let them bid against each other. Let their demand set their price instead of setting yours. And he doesn't hedge it. He says there's only one way to do the thing that hyperscalers themselves agree is right. And that's to run a separate auction. One way. His words, not mine. Now we're going to keep following this one. So take a second and hit that free subscribe button on the Abe channel and leave a comment below with what your bill did. And if you think I've got this wrong, say so in the comments. I promise. My feelings won't be hurt. That's the whole point of this channel. We want to foster discussion. Because at the end of the day, New York ran the experiment in public. In June, both chambers of the legislature passed a bill. 43-7 in the Senate. That's not a squeaker. That's a building that made up its mind. The bill did two things. It paused new data centers over 20 megawatts for 1 year. And it made the utilities put data center costs on data centers, not on your bill. But then the governor did something interesting. She didn't sign it. She wrote her own order instead, and it took effect in July. It was the first statewide pause in the country. Real, not symbolic. And I want to be fair about what it does, because this is the part where people get it wrong. Her order doesn't ignore the cost question. It opens a proceeding on it. State regulators are told to go look at whether data centers should pay more or bring their own power. Look at that sentence again. Go look at whether the bill was a rule. Her order is a meeting, and a rule says you don't pay. A meeting says someone will decide later whether you pay. You can't slow walk a rule. A meeting you can slow walk until the building is already up. And you already know what they're going to say. She stopped it. And she did. She stopped something real. She stopped the building. But she didn't stop the bill. Watch what lived. Watch what didn't. The part that halts construction. Signed, in force, done. The part that would have put the cost where it belongs. In writing. Permanently. Still sitting on the desk. Unsigned. Same week. Same desk. One idea made it. The pause stops the building, but it doesn't touch the costs. The part that touched the costs is the part she left. So who was that pause for? Put yourself in that room. You didn't get a vote. You didn't get a notice. You opened the envelope, and the number was bigger. You did what people do. You blamed yourself. You checked the thermostat. You wondered about a light left on somewhere. Let's be clear. It wasn't the light. There was no hearing. There was no vote. There was just an auction and a cap. And the cap broke. And if you want the filings I quoted in this video, I post the daily roundup at burntheplaybook.news. Last thing. They built it. We powered it. But somebody has to pay for it. You already did. They call it demand. You call it the answer. I'm Michael Starr Hopkins, and this is Burn the Playbook. Take care.